Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. I'm Hannibal B. Johnson. It's my privilege as president to welcome you to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Today our program, again, focuses on sports. There's so much that we can learn from sports and the athletes who excel at them. Take Michael Jordan, for example. This most successful of professional basketball players understood and appreciated the role of failure in his career and his life. Michael Jordan said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." Let's keep that in mind as we do the work we do day in and day out. Success might not always be immediate and apparent, but it cannot come unless we persevere. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment now to silence your cell phones. Thank you. And a special thanks, as always, to Tom Wolfe for our pre-meeting musical interlude. Tom. Let's begin our program with the invocation from Kathy Gorell, followed by song and pledge from Vic Bailey, and visitor introductions from past President Ed Monette.
Will you join me in prayer? Our hearts are saddened by so many in the area that have been devastated by flooding and storms over the last 10 days. For those that have lost lives and property, we grieve in their behalf. Let us know how we might serve our community, whether it be on a demolition crew, serving a meal, donating essentials, or opening our wallets to so many needs. We think about our friend Bob McKenzie, who's embarking on yet another ride across America to raise money and awareness for polio. Please keep Bob and Darlene and their teams safe on the road and free from storms. We thank you for their spirit and dedication to this great cause. And now bless this food and fellowship, inasmuch as we are so blessed, cause us to be a blessing to others. Amen.
As we think about and remember the sacrifice that was made on Normandy Beach 75 years ago tomorrow, let us sing with resolve and pride, America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesties, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to welcome everybody to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. And as we do every week, we would like to introduce our guests and their host. If when I call your name, if you'll briefly stand up so we can take a look at you, we will hold our applause till the very end. Immediately in front of me at a very special table, the family of Bob Spears is with us today. We have John Spears, Richard Spears, Martha Rusco, Dr. Mary Spears, Charles Spears, Claire Spears, William Spears, and Cindy Taylor. You may remember Cindy. She was principal at Celia Clinton Elementary many moons ago. We've also already had mentioned in our prayer Bob and Darlene McKenzie, visiting Rotarian, and his wife. Lynn Hackett is the guest of Oscar Dosal. Kyden Creek Palm has with him Kelsey Neal. Philip Viles brought Wesley Leander. Chuck Wilson has two guests, Pamela Lindley and Skip Steele. And Ashley Cutshall, the daughter of Richard Holmes, is with us today. Let's give them all a round of applause. Two visiting Rotarians from the Southside Club, as he is every Wednesday, Ben Gorell. And from Rotaract and Sunrise, Cole Adamson. Hi, Cole. Thank you all for being here. Please come back.
Thank you, Kathy, Vic, and past President Ed. This year, 35 outstanding new members have joined our club. At this time, I'd like to recognize the new members who are ready to receive their blue badges. So please come to the front of the stage when I call your name. John Croissant, Barbara Kogerman, Oscar Dosal Terrones, Ken McConnell, Kyden Creekpalm, Dennis Anderson. When you joined the Rotary Club of Tulsa, your potential to make a difference in the world grew exponentially. That's because you joined a network of over 1.2 million people who take action, volunteers from all over the world who share a goal of improving others' quality of life. I encourage you to get involved in ways that align with your passions, and when you get involved, it's not just our club and community that benefit, you benefit too. As an active Rotarian, you'll make connections and develop skills while doing good in the world. Thank you for your commitment to the cause of community betterment through Rotary service. Welcome, new members. Thank you. At this time, please help me welcome past President Tim Colwell for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Hannibal. Well, it is rare when the board of the Rotary Club of Tulsa votes to extend a special lifetime membership. When the directors do, it's based on the Rotarian's number of years of service and his continued dedication for years and years of service. Today we recognize Robert B. Spears with a lifetime membership in the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Now, as you know earlier, Bob is joined by members of his family here today. Bob joined the club in 1987 and began his first 31 years of service. He was the founding chair of Rotary's Celia Clinton School Partnership. Bob's enthusiasm and dedication for the students at this at-risk elementary school laid the foundation for countless Rotarians to volunteer time and club resources for the next 16 years. And we're thrilled that Cindy Taylor could be with us today. She was the principal at Celia Clinton at that time. Working tirelessly right alongside him was Bob's wife, Jean, who was a special and welcomed classroom volunteer. Rarely a day passed that you didn't see one or both of them at the school, mentoring students, helping teachers, organizing award ceremonies, and recruiting Rotary volunteers for this important new youth service outreach of our club. In fact, one of the bronze sculptures in our Rotary Plaza salutes our club's commitment to youth during Rotary's first 100 years in Tulsa, and the model for that sculpture was Bob Spears, along with a Celia Clinton student that he was mentoring. In addition to chairing the Partner School Initiative, Bob chaired the Community Fund Committee, the Program Committee, and the Rat Patrol. That's what we used to call the very active group of Rotary volunteers called the Rotary Action Team. He also served on the board as a community service director, and then he was elected a director at large. He is a Paul Harris Fellow, a Club Foundation Fellow, and now he has an honorary lifetime membership. So, Bob, would you please stand? And before we recognize you, would love for the entire family to stand. Now let's all stand and thank Bob. Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you, Past President Tim, and thank you, Bob, for 31 years of service to our club and to the Tulsa community, and for your dedication to the Rotary mission. This time it's my pleasure to welcome our Sarge, Daniel Gomez. Daniel.
Hi, good afternoon. It feels like it's been a while. Sorry I had to miss last week, but I got a lot to cover today, and I'm pretty excited. First thing we have, it's actually an anonymous $100 that came in. That's allowed. You know, every dollar counts. But I guess I figured I'd take the opportunity to thank everybody who makes these meetings happen every single week. I mean, that's what impresses me most about this club, is that this happens every single week. So thanks to everybody who makes that happen, and thank you, Mr. Anonymous, or Miss Anonymous, for $100. So Bill Vogel sent me this picture. This is John DeBar in a canoe around his house. Most of us know that what happened in his area. He said it's $50 for John and $50 for the poor person that got left behind to take the picture. But in all seriousness, I think we all know what John's been doing. I saw him in the New York Times actually commenting on the situation. So John, our thoughts are with you. I don't know if he's here today, but thanks, Bill, for pointing this out and having a little fun with this. But again, our thoughts are with John and for everything he's doing. Karen Neal gave $100. Her birthday was May 26th. Happy birthday. But she made clear to me that instead of mentioning her, she wanted me to mention Rotarian Prima Donna Braddock's Girls Team Summit coming up this weekend. It's on page 35 of the June issue of Tulsa People. It's at the Tulsa Dream Center. They have a Facebook page, which is where I pulled this from. Such a great program. Just another example of Rotarians helping our community. So thank you, Kara, and thank you, Prima Donna, for everything you're doing. These are always my favorite. Kathy Gurrell. Ben and Kathy, happy 50th anniversary. There's one picture. She mentions that in this picture, Rotarians should recognize the parents involved, Ed and Helen Bentley and Dr. Ben and Mildred Gurrell. Happy anniversary, Kathy, and thank you for the donation. Here's to 50 more years. Ray Tullius, $250, very generous for his birthday, May 23rd. Ray didn't send me a picture, but I found there's all sorts of Rotarian-themed birthday cakes, if anybody's interested. If there's a business in this, I might open a bakery, because there's all sorts of cool designs. But happy birthday, Ray, and thank you for the very generous gift. This is a proud mom find for Tommy Lynn. Her son Houston graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Southeast Louisiana University. Here's him in his pinning ceremony. And here is him with his cap and gown. Well deserved. Thank you, Tommy Lynn. So no dog pictures this week, but this is going to be the last week, and then I will find a way to raise some money. The people who sent these pictures are very passionate, just so you know that. This is a big deal, and I think we're going to raise some good money. We've already raised good money, but thanks to everybody who's participated. You got one more week. That's all I got today. Thanks, everybody, and have a good week.
Thanks, Daniel. At this time, we have a special side mic announcement from past President Bob McKenzie. Bob.
Thank you, President Hannibal. I want to say one thing about Bob Spears before I start. When I joined this club, if Bob Spears was headed toward you, you went the other way, because he was going to put you to work. We're headed to California. That's why we're here. We moved to Virginia last year, and we're headed to California for our 4th Race Across America. Last year we raised $1 million for polio. This year we're sitting at $870,000. And so that's a lot of children that are going to be immunized against polio. Over the 4 years, we've raised nearly $3 million. And thank you. A lot of that has come right from this club, not only for polio, but also helping support the team's expenses. And this club, over the years that I've been riding, have immunized over 500,000 kids. Thank you very much. Some of you have asked where you can give, and next Monday's Minute will have a link in there that you can click on and give, and you'll get credit for your Paul Harris Fellowship, and the club will get credit here, and we'll just know that you gave. And thank you all. It's so good to see you all again. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Rotarian of the day is past President Chuck Wilson. He's a past IBA chair, a Paul Harris Fellow, Club Foundation Fellow, an MSNI Ambassador, TRF benefactor, Allen Edwards Society member, and he's been a member of our club for 30 years. And on top of all that, he's just an all-around great kind of guy. Please help me welcome past President Chuck Wilson.
A few weeks ago, Rotarian Mike Carter was here at Rotary, and he came up to me and he handed me a check for $1,000, and it was not made out to me personally. That went to our Rotary Foundation, and I am so pleased to announce today that on behalf of Mike and his wife, we are going to be presenting to Coach Eddie Sutton a Paul Harris Fellow. Thank you, Mike. Coach Sutton had hoped to be here today, but his appearances are sort of day-to-day these days, so he was unable to make it. But we will be hand-delivering this to him in the very near future. Mike Carter has been the Director of Athletics at Oral Roberts University since 1994, after practicing business and sports law in Tulsa for 21 years. He was graduated from OSU, then received his law degree from TU. Mike is highly respected among his peers and has served the very highest levels of oversight, advisory, and management of NCAA and conference committees. As we all appreciate, athletics at RU has flourished and has been a model of outstanding student athletes and coaches under Mike's leadership. I also want to mention to you that in my work that I do each day, many times I ask my client, what brought you to Tulsa? And it is absolutely amazing to me the number of times that directly or indirectly ORU played a role in that. We need to be thankful for the wonderful contribution that this university has made to our city. Mike and his wife Paula and his family have been involved with so many sports and charity efforts throughout the years. Many of you know the story of their son Scott, who died of cancer at the age of 13. For those of you who do not know this story, let me tell you that Scott packed many, many experiences into that time. He battled bone cancer for 3 years, but put together a remarkable collection of celebrity memorabilia from his heroes, including Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, and Tiger Woods, just to name a few. Through this effort emerged the Scott Carter Foundation and Heroes Golf Classic Dinner and Auction, which has led the way to $3 million towards children's cancer research. Scott believed that if enough time, energy, and money were devoted to children's cancer research, a cure could be found for this dreaded disease. And I so much appreciate the leadership that Mike and his family has shown. He'll talk to you more about that in this effort. Will you please welcome our fellow Rotarian, Mike Carter.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to be an honorary Rotarian of this club. I'm so proud of the work that is done here. And greetings come from fellow Rotarian Kason Carter from Chicago. I was told that I only have 20 minutes, so you'll have to pardon me if I use my glasses today. I took my 45-minute presentation and shrunk it down to really small type on one page. So I'll need my glasses to read it to get through it, if you don't mind. Let's see here. What do we got? No problem. We're good. We strive to be the golden standard, passionate competitors today and world leaders tomorrow. Our motto and our mission is develop whole person champions. We're certainly about competing at the highest level of Division I athletics, winning Summit League championships, playing in NCAA tournaments. Basketball preseason publications have us tabbed as first or second next year, if you can believe those publications are already out. Kevin O'Banner, our outstanding freshman, was named a freshman All-American. Baseball struggled. We had 26 new players on a 35-man roster. In one game this year, we're down by 1 run in the 9th inning, bases loaded, 2 outs, and our best hitter was at the plate. He's got to get a hit for us to win the game. And first pitch, right down the middle, he didn't swing. Second pitch, right down the middle, he didn't swing. Coach says, come on. Hey, I mean, this is about the league here. Third pitch, right down the middle, he didn't swing. Coach goes out and he said, what are you doing? Why didn't you swing? He said, well, Coach, he was throwing the radio ball. He said, the radio ball? He said, yeah, I could hear it, but I couldn't see it. Well, in spite of the season, Spencer Henson from Pryor, Oklahoma, was the MVP 2 times. He led the league in Triple Crown, in RBI, batting average, and home runs 2 years in a row. And yesterday, he was drafted in the 9th round in the Major League draft by the New York Yankees. So we'll get to see Spencer play. Isaac Coffey was named a freshman All-American, and I'm sure we'll be favored to come back and win the Summit League next year. We're making a dramatic investment in men's and women's golf. We're going to upgrade that program significantly. We are raising funds for a $1 million project. We're building an indoor practice facility that will have 4 hitting bays with TrackMan and all the analytics, a simulator, locker room, a putting studio, a workout room, locker room, lounge, the whole 9 yards, and an outdoor short game range. So we may be knocking on your door to help us support the only men's golf program in town now, and we want the city of Tulsa to be proud of golf again. But we are more than just competition. We invest in the lives of our student athletes. Believe it or not, 59% of our student athletes wouldn't be in college without a scholarship. So we're about developing those whole person champions, preparing them for life after athletics, intellectually, socially, and spiritually. Intellectually, last year our student athletes graduated at a rate of 90%. 90% graduation rate with a GPA of 3.29. Very proud of these young men and women. 2 of our student athletes were named the top student in the academic department on campus. They were part of a graduating class that the city should be very proud of. And I think these are facts that a lot of people don't realize. 97% of our graduates were employed or accepted into the graduate school of their choice. That is an unbelievable percentage. Indications are that this year that number will reach 99%. 100% of our education and nursing graduates were employed by graduation. 100% of our pre-med students were accepted into medical school. That's 23% above the national average. 100% of our history, humanities, and government grads were accepted into law schools. There's now a national merit test that's given across the country, from Stanford to Harvard to Michigan to Texas. Our business finance students scored in the top 5%. Our business management students scored in the top 1%. Oral Roberts University is not a little Bible school. It's a powerful university in all types of areas, something that you can be proud of. Socially, 100% of our student athletes participated in over 3,000 hours of community service projects in the city of Tulsa. Our student athletes serve in leadership positions in virtually every area of campus, from academic organizations to honor societies to social clubs to mission events. And ORU Athletics is the only university in Oklahoma that has developed and conducts a student athlete leadership academy. We pick 2 to 4 student athletes from each team. They go through a rigorous leadership program, and we'll select a new crew for next year. It has been very, very successful. Spiritually, 100% of our student athletes are involved in a weekly Bible study led by our coaches and our athletic chaplains. They attend athletic chapels quarterly and actually organize and run those athletic chapels, sharing their stories and giving their testimonies. Over 75 of our student athletes participate in an FCA group weekly. 25 of our student athletes participated in international mission trips over the summer, and 6 of our student athletes were team leaders on those trips. Kevin O'Banner and Sam Kearns from our men's basketball team were selected by Athletes in Action, along with players from the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC, and toured Israel for 2 weeks, playing basketball and sharing their testimonies. So we're proud of our student athletes. ORU Athletics is led by our core values of excellence, accountability, God first, love, ethics, and service. So I think you can be very proud of the product that we provide. Let's talk a minute about a couple of NCAA issues. Everybody wants to know about this big disparity in athletic department revenues and expenses. That disparity gets wider each year. Let me give you some stats that just came out in several publications. The Big Ten will distribute from its television rights programs $50 million per school. The SEC, $43.7 million. The Big 12, $38.8. The American Athletic Conference, of which Tulsa is a member, $3.8. ORU and the Summit League, $385,000. There's not much of a gap. We're supposed to go beat Texas in basketball and baseball and golf. Last year, Texas spent over $150 million on athletics. But you have to understand, this disparity started with the University of Oklahoma and the University of Georgia in the early 1980s when they sued the NCAA to own the television rights to their football programs. Those rights were later given by each school to their conference, and now the conference packages and sells those television rights, and those packages are enormous. So the big problem that has come about these days is because the conferences control those television rights and the NCAA does not. The NCAA's primary resources come from the men's basketball tournament and that television contract. And those resources are then split among all division schools. Not so for football revenues. So what's happened to college athletics in general? Well, it's led to the pay-to-play arguments, whether student athletes should be paid, because schools are making all this money, and the kids that are generating are the student athletes, so they ought to get it. That's the argument. That then led to the cost of attendance stipends, where it's a huge gap between some that can't afford to give any to their student athletes, and the major schools are giving $5,000 a year to their student athletes. Then it moves into student athletes' rights. And what does that mean? Well, it's led to the transfer portal and kids wanting to just become basically free agents. I mean, look, we've given up on trying to teach commitment. So what if a school spends all this money recruiting and developing talent? Do the mid-majors simply become farm teams for the Power 5 schools? That's kind of the way it's headed, because the more restrictions that are taken away from transfers, then they're just jumping into the transfer portal to see if they can find a bigger school, a better fit for them. Now, some of it is probably warranted, and in some cases, I think coaches realize that and ask them to leave. But let me give you a couple of numbers. There are 321 Division I basketball schools. This year, there are already 820 players in that portal. That's almost 3 per school. They're not happy. Well, honestly, it all goes back to lack of commitment on the part of the kids, because they've grown up in an AAU system that, coach, don't tell me to play defense. It's like the old Allen Iverson deal. Defense? Defense? I don't play defense. I shoot. So you got to play defense. I go play for John's team. There's no commitment. There's no obligation. And they've grown up in that type of atmosphere. So when they get to college, they want to do the same thing. Coach, you want me to pick? I don't know what a pick is. You want me to box out? I don't know what a box out is. These kids don't know fundamentals from anything. It's either slam it or shoot threes and make the ESPN highlight reel, or I'm not happy and I'll go someplace else. So the lack of commitment is really something that's suffering. And I'm not sure that we're going to get that horse back in the barn. I think those are probably the 2 biggest issues. There are other issues out there, like the ability to use a name, image, and likeness to make money. It's the Ed O'Bannon case and the kids who were featured in the EA Sports, Madden Football, and those things. And should they be compensated? And NCAA now has taken that seriously, and they've put together a commission to study that, to determine whether that's going to happen or not happen. So those are a few of the lightning rods. Scott Carter Heroes. Chuck was kind enough to mention it. This year's tournament will be on August 26th at Indian Springs Country Club. The dinner will be on August 24th at Southern Hills. I think the invitations and brochures will be sent out in the next few days. So we're getting ready for that. As Chuck mentioned, we've now gone over the $3 million mark in funds raised for children's cancer research. What I'd like to share with you now is a video that was prepared. Last year was the 25th anniversary, and a very special video was prepared. My grandsons narrate this, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Being a kid is supposed to be fun. Sure, we might complain about having to clean our rooms or too much homework, but mostly a child's life should be filled with play, discovery, and lots of sports. No child should ever have to worry about cancer. Yet, every day, 40 40,000 children undergo treatment for cancer every year. I am Luke Carter. Hi, I'm Henry Carter. Hi, I'm Jane Carter. We want to tell you about our Uncle Scott Carter. He was our dad's and our Aunt Lizzie's little brother, but we never got to meet him. He was a normal kid growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He enjoyed the same things that we like right now. Scott loves sports, just like us. We love sports too. He especially loved baseball. He loved sports so much, many of his heroes were athletes. Scott liked to sing. He was great on When Scott was 11, he was playing in a basketball game when his leg started really hurting. It turned out to be osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer. And with that diagnosis, Scott's life changed. Scott had a lot of treatments and worked hard at getting better. He spent a lot of time in the hospital. Scott had many new friends, some real famous. He got to sit with coaches Eddie Sutton and Bill Self and the OSU basketball team at games. He and his family were friends with Bill Russell of the LA Dodgers. Mr. Russell gave Scott his 1988 World Series jersey. Scott loved it and took it with him on every hospital visit. He hung the jersey over his bed. Soon Scott was making friends with even more famous people, including many athletes. They started giving Scott sports items and Scott had a growing collection. It all started with a baseball jersey. But mostly, Scott wanted to find a cure for childhood cancer. She died because we didn't have enough research done, and we weren't far enough along to have the kind of medicine that she needed to save her life. So it's hard dealing with things like that. Scott decided to display his sports and celebrity memorabilia, and people would come pay to see it. He'd give the money to researchers to help find a cure. He received more than 400 items from people like Michael Jordan, Garth Brooks, Muhammad Ali, and Mickey Mantle. A lot of these items are on display in Orlando at ESPN's Wide World of Sports. Our family is continuing Scott's search for a cure for childhood cancer. That's why the Scott Carter Foundation was formed, to raise money to help find a cure. We want to find a cure for childhood cancer too. Scott's my hero. Mine too. Mine too. And I hope you're all on board with the Scott Carter Foundation. I'm on board. I'm on board. I hope you're on board too. On board.
Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 years. I'm on board.
Hey, Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 years. I'm on board.
Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 great years. I'm on board.
Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 great years. I'm on board.
Hi, Billy Bob Thornton here. I'd like to congratulate the Scott Carter Foundation on 25 years. I'm on board.
This is Pat Jones. Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 years. I'm on board.
Hi, this is Barry Switzer. Wanting to congratulate the Scott Carter Foundation for a great 25 years. Keep it going. Let me tell you, you can count on me. I'm on board.
Scott Carter Foundation, 25 years. Congratulations. I'm on board.
From what is, without a doubt, the messiest office at ESPN, I want to say congratulations to the Scott Carter Foundation on 25 years. In 30 years in this business, 20 years at ESPN, I have met about all the players and coaches that you can think about, all the stars, and none of them that I've ever met has had the impact on me as that young boy in Tulsa, Scott Carter. Just want to say congrats again. I'm on board.
Sam Bradford here, and I just want to tell the Scott Carter Foundation congratulations on 25 years. I'm on board.
Big shout out to the Scott Carter Foundation. Congratulations on 25 years. I'm on board.
I'm Shane Battier, the Miami Heat, and I want to wish everyone at the Scott Carter Foundation congratulations on 25 years of amazing work. I'm on board, and we should all be, to help
Scott Carter Foundation, congratulations on 25 years. I am on board.
Congratulations to the Scott Carter Foundation and all the fantastic work you've done over 25 years. I'm on board.
Hi everybody, I'm Dick Vitale. Hey, the Scott Carter Foundation is unbelievable. 25 years dedicated to the passing of Scott. They do a phenomenal job. You better believe I'm on board, baby.
Scott Carter Foundation, Toby Keith here. Congratulations, 25 years. I'm on board. Now your word.
Hi, I'm Chris Berman of ESPN. The Scott Carter Foundation, 25 years. Congratulations. You did go all the way. And you know what else? I'm on board.
I want to tell you what a miracle and God's blessing this is. Most foundations, family foundations that start after the loss of a loved one lasts on average 3 years. We've been here 25 years. And that's because of you. It's because of the people in this room, the people in Tulsa, the golf coaches across the country that support our tournament, and these celebrities that have bought in. But I just want to thank you for all that you do for us. We just got a call yesterday from Disney's Wide World of Sports. They're doing a major renovation of the field house, and we have to find a new home for 400 autographed sports memorabilia items. So if anybody has any suggestions to display Scott's collection, please call me. We'd love to have it here in Tulsa or someplace that it can be enjoyed by millions. That was Scott's dream. Any questions? We've got a few minutes. And yes, sir.
You guys are in the Summit League, and it seems like there's 4 schools in North Dakota, there's Illinois, Omaha, and it's got to be tough on travel and the kids when they go, and also on recruiting. Is that Summit League going to be something you guys stick with, or do you think that's working?
You know, the Big 12 hasn't created a drive-up window yet. Changing conferences is very difficult. You're right. There are really 3 outliers in the Summit League. You've got Denver on the west, Purdue, Fort Wayne in the east, and us in the south. And travel is difficult and it's costly. But we tried the Southland Conference for a couple of years, which is Louisiana and Texas. And it's not a basketball conference. It was driven by football. And believe it or not, scheduling and traveling is even more difficult there. I mean, it's nicer weather maybe, but the traveling is just as difficult. And the way the central part of the United States is set up with the Division I schools, there aren't many options at all. For instance, men's soccer, there are none, Division I, there are none in Kansas. There's 1 in Missouri. There are 2 in Texas. So where do we have to go to play? I mean, it's like that. There aren't a lot of Division I schools right down the center of the United States. So travel is difficult, scheduling is difficult. Recruiting hasn't really been a problem. I mean, the fact that we have to go up and get off the bus in 5 layers of clothes, it's okay. We get to take them off and get down to our basketball gear and play the game. Other questions? Well, thank you for your time. It's my privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike, for a great presentation. As always, a book recognized in today's program will be presented to our partner in education school, which is Celia Clinton. And this week's book is D-Day, The Invasion of Normandy, 1944. How appropriate. Special thanks to this week's meeting sponsors, Corporate Realty Advisors, Carl Vincent. Next week, our speaker will be Royal Ailes, who's General Manager of Roger Strait University Public TV. The following week, on June 19th, we'll hear from Miss Oklahoma. So, Let's not lose sight of that grand Rotary International vision. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And with that, we are adjourned a bit early.